Y'all broken. Broken is how this episode left me at 1 o'clock this morning, y'all. It's time to get into it. Pick me up in the McLaren, Daddy. Annie, in fact, is not okay. I just honestly want to know, is he still puffing on the pipe?
Monday you come over, stay a couple days.
Welcome back to the channel, you guys. We are back to talk The Testaments, season 1. What is this, y'all? Is this episode 8, Broken? And y'all, this was heavy. This was outside of what I anticipated. I knew we were going to go over here at some point, but I think seeing the conversation between Hulda and Agnes, Hannah, baby, I wasn't no good last night. But you guys, we are back to talk about it. If you're new here, my name is Ashley. This is My Sweet Perspective, where I give my take on all the things TV and movie related. And y'all know I'm here to put you on. And we have to talk about it. But there's a couple things I want to put on the table before I get into the official review. One, don't play with me anymore in these 30-minute episodes. Stop that. In season 2, which we better be getting a season 2, I don't want to see a 3 as the prefix of any number as it relates to the time of an episode. I don't want to see it. 2, I fear I needed a trigger warning with this. This was emotional. This was activating. As my therapist says, this was definitely triggering to see these babies be victimized, try to blame it on themselves, and then to be brutally rebuffed when they go and seek help and not believed, or believed and made to cover up. This one got me in the feels. But you guys, let's get into it. And we're going to do something different. I'm going to go character by character. I feel like that's easier for me because I can recall better when I think about the characters. And so let's start with Agnes Hannah, honey, because Agnes was in this beginning, a dream or a beautiful nightmare, right? Because she is just enamored of Garth and what could have been the unrequited love of it all. And we see her dancing in this ballroom with her narration, basically saying, listen, I already know Garth's going to be married to Becca. And we knew that as well. And I got on Agnes Hannah a little bit on her head top last week or week before because I said, girl, you can't put that on Becca. But Becca, we have to have words, sister, because you are a demon, if I must say so myself. So throughout this episode, we're seeing Hannah really make her peace with everything and try to figure out how am I going to move into this new era of my life. We get to school, we interact with Becca. You find out that this was Becca's choice. Baby, they didn't choose for me. I chose for myself. She's got to contend with that. But also we have a conversation with Hulda, and Hulda is broken, and Agnes Hannah recognizes it and is like, what is going on? I had my cleaning with Dentist Grove. And we all knew what happened over there. And she explains what happened over there. And Agnes, she said a little shh. Okay, says, girl, you need to go be strong and courageous and go tell them people, and reconciling it in her own mind to say, Holder remembers, so she can do it. Can't really remember what happened to me. So that's why I'm not going to take this upon myself. Go talk to the aunties. They will get this right. They will get justice because you have your whole life ahead of you and you're going to be just fine. And so throughout the episode, we're seeing her reconciling with like guilt of not really telling Hulda what happened to her. She emoted because one thing Chase Infinity is going to do in this role is emote, but you never gave Hulda that you're not alone situation. And I get it. It's a scary situation. And Hulda to me is just the bravest and the best of them. I really want to get justice. And I think we will ultimately. But so throughout, we see Hannah, we see her going through her cake tasting and choosing the flowers and checking Paula. Because check that hoe, because who are you? We also learn that Paula is ready for her to get out of the house so that she and Commander Mackenzie can get a handmaid so that Paula can have her own baby. I fear for the nation because you don't need to raise not nary a child. But we have the cake tasting. Agnes Hannah doesn't like any of the cakes. Weston is like, listen, I like them all. I like them. And I don't like how, and I think this isn't true though. I think a lot of men who are terrible predators and crazy actually oftentimes present as charming and warm and on your side. But I really hate that. And I hope Agnes can see through it. I really do. He's like, no, you can have whatever cake you want. And of course, Paula's like, make the decision. And she's like, Paula, I'm choosing not to, damn it. I'm not going to do anything. And I want these lilies. Well, why don't you consider the ranunculus? Paula, I won't consider no damn ranunculus, but the ranunculus were a better choice. I'll just set that right there, at least in my opinion. Weston's backing her. This isn't Paula's wedding. This is your wedding, and trying to empower her. But I fear it's only to break her down further. Again, the episode title is Broken. Paula referred to her as a broken horse, or he likes to break them in like a horse last season. So we know that this is going to end in disaster if this nuptial actually takes place. And at the clip and rate and speed of time that it's looking like, it'll be sooner rather than later. And so now it's time to go to Becca's engagement party because it's the first one of the season. So we're over there, and Hannah is just caking and everything, congratulating the people. She and Hulda are there. And before this, Hulda actually meets with Vidala and calls Agnes Hannah in. And Vidala's like, Hulda's got it all wrong. And she said that she told you. And I just want to make sure that this is quashed. So the name of a good commander isn't out here being exposed wrongfully, X, Y, or Z. And of course, Agnes Hannah, in the moment, with really not a lot of basis to have courage in the first place, says, "You're right, Aunt Vidala. It's fine." She goes out to Hulda in the office. "Your whole life's ahead of you. You're going to be fine. Just push through, get married. You can do this. You're strong. You can do hard things." And my thing is, Hannah, can you do hard things? Can you do the hard things, Bookie Butt? That's the bigger question for me. And again, it's such a hard situation because these are children, and you can't blame Hannah for not putting her neck on the line. Then also, damn, Hannah, damn. And so, anyway, we're at the engagement party, and Hannah sees Dr. Grove come in. She sees how Hulda clenches up as he comes and pretends that everything's fine, that he's done nothing. And we see Auntie Lydia outside, and Hannah approaches her and is like, "So, did Aunt Vidala talk to you about Hulda?" And she was like, "Yes, an unfortunate situation." And Hannah's like, "I know for a fact that she's telling the truth." And immediately you see this awareness on Auntie Lydia's face. And of course, Hannah doesn't understand it. Agnes Hannah doesn't understand it because she's never seen that side. But immediately I knew what time it was. I knew immediately what time it was. By his hand, damn it. We are going to have blood in the streets, and I'm ready for it. It better be next episode. Next episode is the penultimate episode. I think there's 10 episodes this season. So we're going to get to it because Dr. Grove has to be put down. He has to. And she says, "Trust in God, go get married. Vengeance is his. Everything is going to be fine." And so in that moment, of course, Hannah doesn't believe that any action is going to be taken. She thinks it's very similar to the conversation that they had with Aunt Vidala. And so she goes over in a corner crying. Daisy, this episode, I thought was really interesting because we know that Daisy from before had seen Commander Weston. And so she has an awareness immediately of who Agnes is marrying. But outside of that, when she's talking to Agnes in this moment, and Agnes confides and confesses to her what happened with Dr. Grove, it's like, oh, I'm going to make something shake. I'm glad you told me. I'm the best person for you to tell now what that means and what that's going to look like on this side, because the narration from Agnes in this moment is like, damn, I shouldn't have believed Daisy. I shouldn't have told her. I shouldn't have believed her. I shouldn't have done anything of the sort. So I'm really curious about how this is all going to play out. And of course, we'll get to Daisy in just a moment. As far as Hulda is concerned, Hulda in this moment literally broke me. I'm telling you, that conversation between she and Agnes is so deep and so nuanced and just so real. Even outside of this type of cultic situation, this is a lot of victim stories, right? In terms of, I told somebody and they didn't believe me, or they said it was me, that I seduced said grown ass man. And so I think seeing that play out in real time was really uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable because it happens and you that it's a real thing. And so it's not just art, but art really imitating life in this moment. And of course, disproportionately in these spaces that are male dominated, cultic, and cramming something down your throat. in terms of what you believe and who a woman is versus who a man is. And y'all, it was all I could do. She is literally broken, just looking for some safe outlet because she's got or the future in the right hand, which she's totally content with marrying Commander Thomas and going about their lives. And he says, I can have a dog, but am I worthy of it? Because it's not just about, of course, the thing that happened to me, the act. It's now I'm putting my worth into question, the shame that's associated with it because I'm supposed to be a godly girl and this happened to me. So what does that make me? Was I this temptress? Was I X, Y, or Z? And you, baby, you were none of those things. And I just hate that she has to experience this alone, believing she's the only person because Hannah couldn't open her mouth and say it was her too. And I get it. There's a pressure, there's a weight on your shoulders around who you can be in this place. But that's what I really wanted. I really wanted someone to be there in a real way for Hulda. And Agnes tried, and she's trying on the back end, and we'll see what happens. I didn't like the foreshadowing. I didn't like her falling off the bat. I did not like that with Hulda. My girl better survive. Do you hear me? My girl better survive the season. Also, one other note around Agnes, Hannah, and her father, because we do have a moment. Are you happy? Am I happy? What's going on here? And it was in that moment that I said, he does care, but he's struggling with something. There's some sort of internal battle going on with Commander Mackenzie. And I need to know what it is because what are you doing? Do you like Commander Weston? Yeah, he's fine. He's good. He's a good match for you. Do you? But what are you going to do if she gives you a different answer? And it's like in that moment, she having to comfort and reassure him. I really want to dive deeper into that daddy daughter dynamic and really see what it is because for whatever reason, he can't seem to see the forest for the trees as it relates to Paula. What makes us think he can see anything different when it comes to Commander Weston? But I was hoping for something from him. And I fear I just don't see anything. Now, will Daisy tell him? Because we do have an open door early in the season where, how was my daughter? Is she happy? Will she go and run to Commander Mackenzie? And will he do anything with the information? Or will Daisy go to Garth? These are questions that need answers. As far as Shuna this season, for this episode, Shunammite is just going to be Shunammite. I liked this episode. For me, it felt like a reset in that when we get enthralled in a show, we can start sometimes looking at characters as peers rather than who they really are. And this episode really, to me, grounded us in the fact that these are kids. These are naive children who have no clue about the world, who have no clue about anatomy or any of the things that they're about to embark upon in these journeys as far as marriage and family and all of that. And I love how this episode reset that, especially with Shuna, because when she and Daisy have the conversation around the birds and the bees. And she's like, a rod swimming upward. Ugh, you think I'll believe anything, Daisy. I thought that was hilarious and just a nod to the fact that these are still naive young girls entering into this very adult situation. And we'll see how that plays out. But Shuna still hasn't gotten her cycle. She happens to catch Daisy in the bathroom and becomes another holder of a secret. And I was like, Shuna, you really are a good girl. You really are jealous. She really shows her heart this episode. I have to pretend to congratulate all these girls. My mother's up in the room crying, asking me every second if something's going on. And I fear I'm going to be a dried up prune, right? And so I think these are real in her mind and in this society and culture, real concerns around who am I going to be here without that? Because worth is inherently tied to my womb. Go figure. And it's not too much different than what we have in society present day, right? Around this idea of women's body being in service. And that's what makes you of value, right? If I can bring life into this world, if I can be married, it's still all in line with patriarchy. But anyway, I'm not going to get off into all of that. But Daisy, speaking of Daisy, she's a woman now. And Shuna finds out. And of course, Shuna keeps the secret, but does tell Agnes so Agnes can give her some hygiene products because, girl, you can't be using everybody's crafts as your stopper. All right. And so, again, we found out last episode, I believe, that Daisy didn't have a cycle in Canada. So I'm like, is there something in the water of Gilead that's making these girls fertile or what? Because Daisy's up there in age, or maybe something's gone on in society that's causing people to come into their cycle much later. I don't know. Interesting. But she comes on. And so now, apparently, even as a Pearl girl, if you get a cycle, you're eligible for marriage. So if the aunties find out, she will be married off. And so she's like, please, Shuna, I beg you, don't do this. So through the whole episode, Daisy is struggling and worrying about that. And then, of course, we see the conversation around when she comes in, and Becca is very much like, Pearl girls have to sit with us every day. Oh, who are you? Becca's a demon, and I'm going to get to her next. But anyway, Daisy's just there until ultimately she goes to Becca and Garth's engagement party. And we find out more about Garth. We find out that his father was poisoned by Mayday. And I guess for all intents and purposes, a quadriplegic, maybe. And so we're having this conversation like he was a great commander before the war. Mayday poisoned him and this. And I'm thinking to myself immediately, this really doesn't make sense for Garth. And so ultimately, we do see a conversation between Daisy and Garth. And she's like, so what? You're Mayday, but your father was poisoned by Mayday. The father was a great man, but he was on the wrong side. My mission is to take Mayday down. Listen, damn it. I never intended on being in love. I still don't. And that's what I said. And I said it, I think, my last video. I don't believe that Garth, in under any certain terms, gives a damn about any of these girls here. I think his mission is bigger. And what concerns me is that if your father was poisoned by Mayday, how did you get this strong resolve to be on their side? It makes me feel nervous about his true intentions. But of course, he and Daisy have this conversation, and she's like, listen, I got my period. They're going to try to marry me off. You have to get me out of Gilead. And he's like, sorry, you don't get in to get out, baby. It's blood out, jumped in, you in for life, basically. And she's like, that can't be. And again, Garth has his own motivation. He's like, I don't know, June. You keep talking about a June, damn it. I don't know. I'm your handler and I have my handler. That's as far as it goes. But really, I feel like for continuity's sake, that's not as far as it goes, because we've seen a lot of people have a knowing knowledge of members in Gilead and coming out and knowing who is who. And so I think y'all have to clean that up moving forward or going into the next season. But my eye is on Garth, and also what Daisy's going to do with this newfound information. A rage filled her. Not only does she know about Weston and who he is and what his history is, but now I know that Commander Grove is violating the girls. So what is Daisy going to do? Daisy is not a trained operative in any of the alphabet agencies. I don't know what they think she's going to be able to do over here, but I fear for my girl Daisy. I fear for anybody connected with her. We find out that the other Pearl girl she's being dealt with, right? Auntie Lydia inquires, and Weston shuts her down. You just worry about these girls. Don't worry about those girls. That's my territory. And I'm thinking to myself, they're torturing that poor girl. Throughout the whole episode, or excuse me, at the party, we do see Jenny make an appearance. We know Jenny's miscarried and she looked mighty bad. I was feeling low. I was feeling mighty bad. She looks mighty bad. And I think she's on her way out. We shall see. She immediately is like, yeah, he's calling the car around to take me. We haven't seen Commander Judd since word of that and Auntie Lydia offering him a handmaid. So I'm very curious about where that's going to go. Now, let's get over here to Aunt Vidala. Aunt Vidala is a demon. She is strictly about survival. Any thoughts or hopes that I had that she was something else or somebody else, out the window. From that raggedy sex ed conversation to you basically shaming Hulda about what happened to her and not giving it any credence or anything pisses me off. Now, as far as Lydia's going to go to work. One thing she don't play with is that. And I don't know. And I'm really curious about why not tell any of the more powerful commanders. We know that in the whole big scheme of things, Commander Grove, aka Becca's daddy, is nothing in the whole world of this world. So what's the problem with taking him out? I'll be curious to see where that goes. Now let's get over here to Becca, because Becca's a demon. Like I said from the beginning, I've never liked that hoe. She looks crazy in the eyes, and there's no justification. Now, do I agree with her marrying Garth? Absolutely. I think that was something you needed to do. But the smugness with which she presented it, knowing that your best friend was in love with him, was hella devious, in my opinion. It was low down, it was wrong, it was tactless. The way you're treating Daisy, just some, I guess you are a jealous schoolgirl, but there's nothing redeeming to me about her. I really struggled, y'all know from the beginning, with the dynamics of their friendship and were they ever really friends. I knew that she was in love with Hannah, but will that quickly turn? I really see them framing her at this moment to be a villain, and I think it's all going to be around her daddy. I think it's not only the fact that, of course, I'm in this impossible situation because it felt like I'm hurting. So let me hurt you by saying I chose him and I'm going to marry him and our wedding is going to be the best. And we're having the engagement party first and all of those things. It was very mean girl. And so I think once it all comes out about Commander Grove, I think that is the fire that she's going to need to be a fully heinous demon. And I'm waiting for that to unfurl. Reactions, the look on the face, like the elitist vibe, girl, when your daddy's nobody, it just didn't reconcile for me. So I'm very interested to see where that goes. But y'all, overall, Sweet Pea rating, I enjoyed this episode. This was a 4.5 for me on the Sweet Pea. Out of 5 Sweet Peas, this was a 4.5 Sweet Pea. I thought of course, the episode's gonna deliver in beauty, but I really feel like the standout for me is the scene between Hulda and Agnes Hannah. That brought tears to my eyes, and I'm ready for retribution. But you guys drop it in the comments. Let me know, what is your Sweet Pea rating? Out of 5 Sweet Peas, how many Sweet Peas do you drop? Drop it in emojis. That'll be cute. If you're still here though, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to comment, subscribe, hype the video if you have any hype points. That helps your sis out. And thank you so much for being here, and I will see y'all in the next video. Thanks for watching.